Hello. It's been a while. I haven't been posting to YouTube. I've been so busy promoting my new cookbook. The holiday season is here, so many new recipes on sweetpotatosoul.com. Being a mom, living my best life, you know what I mean? Playing tennis, doing yoga, all the things. But your girl is back and I have some things on my mind. So I'm going to make a series of videos, especially this holiday season and leading into the new year, that are all about, vegan health and wellness and really helping you guys, hopefully helping you guys to thrive on a plant-based, healthy vegan diet. And this is something that has been on my mind for a really long time. This question of whether or not veganism is still healthy and is it moving in the wrong direction as far as health goes. Mostly I'm thinking about this because I see so many more ultra processed vegan foods on the market. There are so many amazing vegan restaurants that are opening up, at least here in Atlanta, and I believe all around the country and all around the world, which is great. We love that. But then there's also so much talk, especially on the internet, about veganism not being great for your health. And I wanted to make this video to talk about my experience, which is just anecdotal, but I have been vegan since 2011, and I have worked with so many people. I used to be a health coach and private chef. I've worked with so many people who have seen amazing results as part of going vegan, or thanks to going vegan, since 2011. But more importantly, there's so much scientific research that does support the health benefits of a healthy plant-based vegan diet. So we're going to talk about all those things. We're also going to talk about the myths of the vegan lifestyle. And beyond the myths, maybe we should give a little light to some of those myths and talk about, like, for example, there's this preconceived notion that if you are vegan, you're not going to get enough protein, you're not going to get enough iron, you're not going to get enough B12. So we're going to talk about where those ideas came from. Is it possible to not get enough iron, protein, and B12? And most importantly, what to do about it so that if you want, you can have a healthy, thriving vegan life and still be getting all of the nutrients that you need. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the processed food. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer in this video and complain about processed food, especially the processed vegan food, because I do eat it too. But we have got to get real about what it means to be a healthy vegan, what it looks like, and what we should be moving toward as people who want to eat plant-based. You know what I mean? And for people who are interested in eating plant-based, I really want this video to be a resource for you to help give you guidance around next steps, like what should you be doing? How can you make sure that this lifestyle is sustainable and helps you feel your best? And if you've got, lifestyle diseases like heart disease or diabetes that you want to reverse, I'll give you some resources to help you along your way of reversing those things. Okay? So I have my computer right here, my tablet, just because I have taken so many notes on this topic. I basically wrote a dissertation on today's topic, and then I had to rewrite everything in the form of an outline because otherwise I would just be going on and on forever. Oh, and by the way, I have a matcha latte. I love these things. I have coffee in the morning, and then I have matcha latte or a green tea or any other type of tea later in the afternoon. So cheers. And this recipe is on the blog, by the way. So I really wanted to start with my personal story because that is what I really can talk expertly about. So I became vegan in 2011 after working at a vegan restaurant. When I got the job at the restaurant, I was already interested in food. I was very much, I was becoming more and more interested in health. I was confused. I wasn't sure what was healthy. For example, when I first started eating healthier in 2007, I was in college. One of the things I did was replace sugar with Splenda, and I thought that was the healthy option. Luckily, I quickly learned that that is not the healthy option. Artificial sugars are bad for you, but that was my journey. But a few years after that, I got a job at a vegan restaurant because I was already not eating meat, chicken. So I just didn't want to serve that. So I got a job at a vegan restaurant. Shout out to Peace Food Cafe in New York City. And it took me a year of working there before I myself actually started feeling guilty enough every time I ate an animal product to also become vegan. And the way I did that was I decided to educate myself. I read books about vegan living, about animal agriculture, about the ethics, environmental, and the health reasons to become vegan, and I was sold. And within a couple weeks of becoming vegan, I kid you not, I had an epiphany. It was like a religious experience, and it was like God told me that this is my purpose in life. I was really confused before then. I had gone to school for acting, and I had moved to New York City to pursue that, and I realized it really wasn't my passion. But I had this epiphany that this was the thing that I should be doing with my life. This is my purpose, to help other people become healthy, to discover plant-based eating, to help people like me who wanted to live in alignment with their values of non-harm and moving closer and closer to balanced living, to help people get there. Basically, my first step was to start a private chef company. I did that for many years. I also started my blog, Sweet Potato Soul, which I still run full-time today. But along the way, it's been since 2011, along the way, my health has stayed amazing. Thank God I have no health problems. I've continued to thrive. I've had a baby who is vegan herself, and I had a vegan pregnancy. I think I look great. I'm 38 years old. Well, almost. I'm about to be 38 years old. I think I look great, y'all. I think so. But more importantly, I feel great. Okay. And this is all living vegan, okay? So this just tells me anecdotally that if being vegan was bad for you, then I would start having some complications, especially nearly 14 years in. But the opposite has happened. I have great energy. I have I have muscle mass. I am not super skinny. I am, very fit. I play tennis. I do yoga. I'm a mom. I have mental clarity, all the things that anybody would want from a lifestyle. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can't be healthy if you're not vegan. That does not make any sense to me. Obviously, people around the world are healthy, and especially healthier than us Americans, and they are not vegan. I'm not going to say that. For me, going vegan was about living in alignment with my values around not unnecessarily harming animals and harming the planet. If I could do something to reduce the amount of harm I am responsible for to animals, I'm going to do it. And then later, after I became vegan, I realized the health benefits as well. So this video is about the health benefits, okay? But that's just a little bit of my background and how I got to where I'm at, how long I've been vegan, and your girl's still thriving, okay? But I will say, over the course of so many years of being vegan, a lot has changed. And I can see how veganism has, when I was vegan, or when I first became vegan, we didn't have a lot of ultra processed foods, fake meats, fake cheeses, all of that stuff on the market. We did not have a lot of vegan restaurants. And so we were pretty clear about what a healthy vegan diet looked like. We were mostly cooking at home, mostly eating, legumes like beans and lentils, whole grains, lots and lots of vegetables and fruits, nuts and seeds. And that, for the majority of us, I think, my friends and me, that was what a healthy vegan diet looked like. And we didn't even have many options to begin with. Over the years, veganism has become more and more mainstream. And with that mainstreamification of this diet, we're in America, so more and more ultra-processed products and foods have come to the market. You guys all know, if you go to any well-stocked grocery store, you will find so many different vegan meats, vegan cheeses, vegan milks, vegan this, that, and the other, vegan highly processed foods. And I'm not going to say that you should never eat those foods, but I do see that as being very confusing. Even, the manufacturers of these products like Beyond Meat, Even Beyond Meat states on their website that their product is not intended to be a replacement for fresh fruits and vegetables and whole foods. Instead, it is supposed to be an alternative to meat. So let's back up a little bit, because here in the United States, the number one killers are what are considered lifestyle diseases. Cancer, heart disease. Well, heart disease is number one. Diabetes, stroke. These are mostly considered lifestyle diseases. And most people in America, it's not that they're eating too much meat necessarily. It's not that they are, well, you know what it is? It's that they're eating far too much processed, highly ultra-processed foods, not enough fiber, and not enough fruits and vegetables, plants. That is the standard American diet. Most Americans are not eating near the recommended amount of fiber in a daily basis. Most Americans, they eat out at restaurants a lot of the time. Most of us eat a lot of processed foods. Most of us drink a lot of sodas and, sugary drinks. That's the norm here in America. Now, eating a lot of meat, that obviously has some negative consequences. There's plenty of evidence to point to, eating less meat leads to healthier outcomes, which is great. But it's not just the meat here in America. It's also the ultra-processed foods. The fact that people are not necessarily cooking at home and they're relying on packaged foods from the grocery store. So what I think about here is the fact that this vegan lifestyle has sort of shifted from being about eating wholesome plants, vegetables, and fruits to replacing those fruits and vegetables with more and more processed foods. Again, Beyond Meat themselves says our product is not supposed to be a replacement, which I love that. It's great. It's very clear. But I do know from, speaking to people, being a chef, being just like out in the world as a public person who people come to for advice around eating plant-based, I know that there is a lot of confusion around what should I actually be eating as a vegan. So let's just talk about the different ways that you can be vegan, because just because you're vegan does not mean you're healthy. Vegan should not be a synonym for healthy, but unfortunately for many people it is. So understand that Oreos are vegan, Coca-Cola is vegan. So you could live off of those things and still be a vegan. Now, the reason you became vegan might be because you just don't want to eat animal products, but you could care nothing about your own health, which, that's how some people feel. And, I respect that. But for those of us who do care about animals and we also care about our own health, eating Oreos and Coca-Cola and just ultra-processed foods for every meal and not caring about our health is just not the way we're going to go, right? So for the rest of us who are interested in our health, there's other options as well. So you could eat a mostly wholesome plant-based diet where you cook most of your foods at home, where you focus on eating fruits and vegetables and beans and whole grains. Great. And then part of the time you eat processed food. That's where I am. I do about a 90% to 10% thing. So 90% of the time I'm cooking everything at home. I'm eating, very minimally processed foods, and I'm not using a lot of oil. I'm not frying food. I'm not eating excess sugar. But then 10% of the time I will indulge. You know what I mean? I will eat processed meat. I will eat sugar. I will do, I'll bake something or eat something junky out at a restaurant. But I limit that to no more than 10% of the time. And for me, I found that that is a great way to support my health and my health goals. Now we can move that another direction further, where there are people who don't eat any ultra processed foods. They focus only on minimally processed foods. They do not eat oil. They do not eat refined sugar or any other refined carbohydrates, grains, any of that. And usually those people are eating that way because they are trying to reverse a disease like type 2 diabetes or heart disease. There is so much evidence that eating in that way is great for reducing your risk of, and also, more importantly here, reversing diabetes and heart disease. Because just eating that middle vegan way where it's like 90-10, 80-20, you will still reduce your risk of these incredibly pervasive lifestyle diseases. But for the people who want to actually reverse the disease once they've got it already, then not eating oil, not eating refined grains and sugars and stuff is a great way. Now, I'm going to leave some links down below. I'm going to leave my sources down below. I'm also going to link to, I was recently at a conference in Huntsville, Alabama, my second plant-based conference this year that I have gone to in Huntsville, Alabama. And this conference was hosted by a doctor, Dr. Helen Stoddard, and she specifically helps people reverse type 2 diabetes and heart disease with a plant-based, whole food plant-based diet. Typically when we say whole food plant-based, we're referring to that way of eating where there's no oil, no refined sugars, no refined grains, so you're eating really wholesome, whole foods. So I'm going to link to her as well. So just in case you or anyone you know does want to reverse those things, check her out. I'll also link to her book down below as well. I'm going to leave a lot of links below. Just so that if you want to learn more about this topic and hear directly from the doctors and researchers, check those things out. I'm going to even link to some Netflix documentaries, like the new twin study documentary was really good. There's just so much evidence that supports the healthy plant-based diet. But again, this video is to kind of prove to you or to remind you that yes, eating vegan is healthy, but to remind you that there's a certain way that you should eat vegan to be healthy, because veganism does not always mean healthy. You know what I mean? So those are the 3 ways that I think people really can eat vegan. Just go fully junk food, 80-20, or go all in on whole food plant-based. Now, the whole food plant-based, like I said, is definitely going to be the healthiest, but I think that 80-20, 90-10 is going to be the most sustainable, and that is where I lie, and that is what I eat, and I feel great. I'm thriving. I don't have any health issues. I never have. Now, let's move a little bit more into the actual health concerns around eating vegan and the myths around eating vegan. So when I was even pregnant, I remember having to get, they do extra blood work and testing to see if you have, if you have enough iron. Are you diabetic, pre-diabetic, or do you have high blood pressure? Because all of those things can be they could be deadly if you're pregnant or when you're in labor. So they're always monitoring, making sure that you don't have those things. And a lot of those things like that diabetes and heart disease, high blood pressure, can be brought on by pregnancy. I didn't have any of that. Even iron. The only deficiency that I did have when I was pregnant was vitamin D, which I was really surprised by because I hiked a lot, and at the time I lived in Los Angeles. So I was like, what? But that has nothing to do with being vegan or plant-based. Majority of Americans, especially darker skinned people, majority of us are vitamin D deficient, and so taking a supplement is so easy. I'll link to one down below. But I've never had a deficiency in iron. I've never had any protein deficiencies, which I would know about that based on how I feel, not by a test from the doctor's office. And likewise, B12. So those are the 3 things I want to talk about: protein, iron, and B12. All right, let's start with protein. There's this myth that you cannot get enough, especially not enough high quality protein on a vegan diet. Now, is that true or is that false? Here is the fact of the matter. So back in the day, there was this myth that in order to be a healthy vegan or vegetarian, you needed to eat a complete protein. And in order to get complete proteins, you had to be very mindful about how you combined your meals. For example, Rice has certain amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. Rice has certain amino acids and beans have certain amino acids, but separately, they are not a complete protein. However, when you put them together, they become a complete protein. So never eat beans without rice and never eat rice without beans. But now, thanks to science, we understand that that is not true. Your body can actually put together proteins as it needs it. Like you can eat rice for, let's just say for lunch. Rice, let's say you have rice and all sorts of vegetables for lunch, but no beans. And then you have beans for dinner and no rice. Your body will work just fine in putting together the amino acids that it needs to build proteins and to function properly in your body. You do not need to combine those foods for every meal, which, wow, that is just like makes life so much easier that you can actually eat a healthy vegan diet and not have to be overly concerned with food combining and making sure that every combination of food is equivalent to a complete protein. All right. Also, it's important to know that plants do have all of the essential amino acids that you need that make up a complete protein. And there are many plants that themselves are complete proteins. Complete protein foods are soy, which would include tofu, tempeh, edamame, hemp. So you're usually eating that in form of hemp seeds, quinoa, and so many more. So if you're really concerned about eating a lot of protein, eat those foods. They're actually delicious. They're super versatile. You can buy them at almost any grocery store, and they're easy to prepare. But it's also important to remember that there are also lots of other high protein vegan foods. My personal favorites are soy, what we already discussed, but perhaps even better than soy, lentils. Your girl loves lentils. Last night I just made myself a delicious vegetable lentil soup, and then the day before that I had a lentil salad, which, you guys, if you watch my channel a lot, you guys know I'm obsessed with those two things. I make lentil salad all the time. I have tons of lentil recipes on my blog. Lentils are amazing. Lentils actually do have more protein than beans. And I don't know if it's just like a me thing, but I feel like lentils are so much more satisfying. They fill me up better than beans. And you don't have to soak them. They cook in like half the time that beans cook. I usually cook mine in the Instant Pot, and they take like just green lentils or black lentils. They take 10 minutes in the Instant Pot and no need for soaking. They are so versatile. They are so nourishing, and they're delicious. Now here's what I want to say about protein. To make sure you're getting enough protein, yes, you can count your protein, be very systematic about how much protein is in each thing you're eating, and that might be great if you're a bodybuilder. But for the average person, you and me perhaps, just eat enough food to make sure that you feel satisfied, nourished, energized, and full. You don't want to be too full, of course, but just feel nourished. If you're eating enough food, if you are feeling good and energetic and nourished, then you are eating enough food and enough protein. You know what I mean? Because plant-based food, especially when you are prioritizing whole food, plant-based things like vegetables and fruits and whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds, those foods all have protein in them. You know, less than fruit, of course, but everything else is all full of protein, differing amounts. But if you're just focusing on eating a variety of those foods, again, let me say it again because I'm probably going to say it 1,000 times in this video. Vegetables, so starchy and non-starchy vegetables, whole grains, legumes, which include beans and lentils and peas, nuts and seeds. If you focus on eating every single day a variety of those foods in different forms, whatever form you want, then you will be eating enough protein, okay? And if you don't believe me, start tracking your protein and see how much you actually eat, eating the regular, healthy, wholesome food that satisfies and nourishes you. I have a video where I track the amount of protein I'm getting in the regular foods that I eat, because I don't really track stuff. But for this video, I wanted to prove to you guys that yes, you can get enough protein. I get about 80 grams of protein a day. And I wanted to prove that, so I simply just ate what I always eat, and I just just tracked it. I just, wrote down how much protein everything had. And it turned out to be 80 grams. The recommended amount of protein for the average woman in America is like 50 or 55 grams of protein. I get 80. I am a lot more active than the average person. So I need a little bit more. And if you're even more active than me, you might need a little bit more. But one thing about being active, the more active you are, the hungrier you are. So it is easy to eat enough protein when you're eating those whole foods, when you're active, even when you're pregnant. And that has been my experience. I'll link to that video with the protein down below. I'll also link to a pregnancy video, just in case you want to see, like, what did you eat when you were pregnant? Y'all, I had a great pregnancy. The first, from week 7 to week 13, I had really bad morning sickness. Like, I was just laid up on the couch and, typical morning sickness. Symptoms, which I don't miss. But aside from that, my pregnancy was awesome. Okay. Eating all this healthy food, feeling my very best. Okay. Let me take a sip of my tea. Oh, that's good. That's good. Speaking of, after I film this video, I'm going to go to Baby J's school and read to her class. That'll be fun today. So let's get into our next thing. We just talked about the protein. What about the iron? A lot of women, especially women who are still menstruating, do have iron deficiencies. So how in the world are you going to eat a vegan diet and get enough iron without meat, right? Because we have all been taught that if we need to get enough iron, we need to eat specifically red meat. I'm going to tell you right now, I am almost 38 years old. I have never eaten red meat in my life. I was raised not eating it. And I've also never had an iron deficiency in my life. Why is that? Because when I was a kid, when I was raised, we always ate a lot of beans and a lot of whole grains. I'm sure, I guess, so I grew up started eating soul food a lot of the time. My parents weren't very strict about my diet, so I was allowed to have sodas and, junk food. But the basis of my diet was all home cooked food. My grandmother cooked. We lived with my grandmother. And she made a lot of beans, and she made a lot of lentils. She made a lot of whole grains and vegetables, a lot of greens, collards, and cabbage. And especially those beans and the whole grains, those are really rich in iron. So maybe it's genetic, I don't know, but I've never had an iron deficiency, even when I was pregnant. Now, fast forward to now, I'm an adult, I understand a lot more about nutrition. I have also made a video about how to get enough iron as a vegan eater. And you'll see that once again, when you focus on eating these wholesome foods, I'm going to say it again, the beans, the lentils, the whole grains, the vegetables, you will get enough iron because those foods, especially the beans, seeds, nuts, and whole grains, are actually rich in iron. And also, I didn't say this before, I should say it, but they're nutritious and they're rich in all these minerals and vitamins that we need, but they're also a lot less expensive than processed foods. We're going to talk a little bit more about processed food in a minute, but trust me, you can get enough iron. I'm going to link to that video down below. Now, B12. B12 is super important for your brain and your neurons and all this stuff. And you could just take a supplement, all right? Just take a B12 supplement. It's really, really easy. You can buy them at Walmart. You can buy fancy ones online. You can, I don't know, they're everywhere. It is recommended that people over 60, whether they're vegan or not, take a B12 supplement. Animals, factory farm animals, are given B12 supplements. B12 supplements are actually given to factory farmed animals. And here's the thing about B12. It's a nutrient that is made by a bacteria that is found in the soil, and it's also found in the guts of animals like cows. The cows get the B12 from eating the grass and picking up that bacteria, which makes it. So the cow itself isn't making the B12. It's actually made by the bacteria in the soil. And because cows these days, especially in factory farms, they do not actually get to graze and eat fresh grass. So they don't even get B12. So they have to be given a B12 supplement. So not to say that you shouldn't be outside, you shouldn't be planting and growing your own food and one with nature and, getting B12 that way, because we should, but I'm not, okay? So I take a B12 supplement, and that is easy to do whether you're vegan or not vegan. But that is no reason to say that veganism is not healthy, but because you cannot get B12 from a cow that was given a B12 supplement anyway. You know what I mean? Okay, so those are the myths. And veganism, it is still, in 2024, after decades of research, it is still correlated with lower risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and so many different types of cancer, all right? If that is not convincing and evidence that the vegan plant-based diet is a good way to go, then I don't know what is. But again, let's talk some more about the dangers now of being vegan, especially in 2024 and 2025. So the biggest danger of being vegan right now is confusion. It is the fact that it's just confusing. You go to the grocery store and there's aisles of plant-based meats and cheeses and stuff, and they all look so good. And in America, we are trained to respond to packaging and marketing and want to buy new things that are novel and we've never seen before and try them out. And right now, there are so many things that I want to buy. But I don't buy them all. One, because I'm a cheapskate and all those processed vegan foods are so expensive. $8 for like 2 burgers, which by the way are delicious. $8 for that, or I could go ahead and spend that $8 on all the ingredients I would need to make vegan burgers homemade at home for the entire week and probably put some in the freezer. Like, I'm gonna make my own at home, okay? You know what I mean? But sometimes I do indulge in the processed stuff. I just don't really buy it myself. But again, it is confusing. You go to the grocery store or you go to a restaurant and there's all these vegan options and you're like, oh, this is vegan, so it must be healthy. So I'm at Costco, let me stock up on the Beyond Meat, the Impossible Burger, the vegan frozen dinners and stuff, because Trader Joe's has them all and they are delicious. The vegan cookies, let me get the vegan cookies, let me get the vegan candy, let me get the vegan cheese, let me get the vegan ice cream, there's so much vegan stuff that has made people forget that just because it's vegan does not mean it's healthy. For one, a lot of these foods are still loaded with oils, like too much oil. There's a place for oil, don't get me wrong. I use oil for my cooking. However, if I was really concerned about like reversing a disease like heart disease or diabetes, I would be the first to avoid all oil, okay? Not all fat, but all oil, because oil is generally devoid of nutrients. Whereas, for example, you have an avocado, which is a fatty food, and that is not only is it good, has good fats in it, but it also has minerals and vitamins and all this good stuff, and that fat is fine. But avocado oil, which I love, but it really has no nutritional value. It just helps with the mouthfeel, and it helps when I'm, pan frying mushrooms and stuff. You know what I mean? But these processed foods are so full of oil. And I'm the first one to drink some Oatly, you know what I mean? But in moderation, no more than 10 to 20% of your diet should be coming from what is generally considered ultra processed foods. Ultra processed foods just means basically foods that are so different than the original thing. Like in my matcha right here, I have oat milk. Imagine what an oat groat looks like. It almost looks like it's like a little grain. It almost looks like a little rice. And then how do you turn it into this milk? And it's not just like blending it in your Vitamix and straining it. For it to be processed and be packaged as Oatly, which is the best oat milk on the market, it has to go through so much. So I eat this I consume this in moderation. So not only are these processed foods full of fat, but also a lot of them sugar, especially when you go into the sweets, the cookies and the ice creams and things like that. Stabilizers, gums, all these things they might not necessarily be bad for you, but they certainly have no nutritional value. When you're eating a healthy vegan diet, you are eating foods that are so full of nutrients that they are supporting your health in a myriad ways. Like they're full of antioxidants and other phytonutrients that help to fight cancer and sickness, and they're full of anti-inflammatory compounds that reduce inflammation. Inflammation is the root of most disease. But you're not getting those anti-inflammatory and antioxidant compounds when you're eating processed foods. So that's why we want to limit those foods to no more than 20% of our diet, because we need at least 80% of our food to really be serving us and serving our health. I say we need that, but not everybody cares. But if you do care, like I care. If we care, that is the way we should be eating. Again, another thing about the processed foods that I don't think is talked about enough, especially in this vegan world, is the fact that these foods are packaged in plastics. And the plastics leach chemicals into the food. Now, of course, sometimes even me, it's just normal. Everything is packaged in plastics. But there are different levels of harmful compounds that are in our food packaging, especially the processed food packagings, like BPA in most cans, even BPA is even in the lining of like soda cans and some sparkling water cans. These are endocrine disrupting chemicals that they're not going to cause maybe diabetes right away or heart disease or anything right away, but endocrine affecting your hormones and your thyroid in the long term. Processed foods are just literally packaged in all these harmful plastic packagings, and unprocessed foods, whole foods, are not. So that's another reason for me to limit processed food consumption. I'm at the point, because once I became vegan, first it was about the animals, then it became more about the health, then it's all about cooking, and then I learned about buying organic and shopping more locally, and then now I'm at the point where I'm learning more about packaging. So even myself, I don't have it in front of me, but olive oil. I love oil. I love olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil. I don't really eat coconut oil so much, but I put it on my body, and I stopped buying oils in plastic packaging because that plastic leaches into the oil. Oils and fats hold chemicals and hold toxins, and then you consume them when you eat them. So I just, I simply stopped buying olive oil and my other oils in plastic, and I buy them in glass, which is easy. You can get that at Trader Joe's. I didn't get that at Trader Joe's, but Trader Joe's has glass packaged oils. So does Costco. It's not that hard. But, as you eat healthier and you become more conscious and aware, you learn more. And as you learn more, you do better. Hopefully you do better. So I cannot sit here and say that there's no harm in eating processed plants, processed plant-based foods. You know what I mean? But they market it like, oh, this is a new thing, this is the best thing. But like I said before, even they still admit that their products are not supposed to be a replacement for fruits and vegetables. They are supposed to be a replacement for meat products, okay? Because it still does remain that Beyond Meat has less fat and no cholesterol compared to animal burgers and animal meat. So technically, if you're trying to reduce saturated fat and fat overall and definitely avoid cholesterol, Beyond Meat is a healthier option. But it is also highly processed. But then also you can compare it to the meat. Is this high quality meat we're comparing it to? For most Americans, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The Beyond Burger is definitely going to be the healthier option for most Americans. Now, in the zeitgeist right now, there is a lot of just talk of, veganism is not good for you, not getting enough protein, and instead people, especially the men love talking about this, which I understand because men and meat kind of they've always been friends. But there's a lot of talk, especially in these male spaces, that you cannot build muscle on a vegan diet. You're not going to get enough protein on a vegan diet, especially not high quality protein. It's not sustainable. Instead, we should be eating grass-fed meat. And they always say red meat when so many people on the planet do not even eat red meat. But that aside, because they're acting like the only way to be healthy is if you eat grass-fed red meat. But most of the people on the planet don't eat red meat anyways, and they're healthier than we Americans are. But anyway, that aside. But I understand, like, you can be healthy and eat meat. Absolutely. You can be healthy and eat dairy. Clearly, there are people all around the world who are way healthier than Americans who eat these things, right? However, when you say, especially like other YouTubers, podcasters, like influencers talk about, oh, you should just eat grass-fed meat and, free range, this, that, and the other, most people will hear that message and they will not be able to eat that way exclusively. Instead, they hear that message as a justification to continue eating a standard American diet that is full of processed meats and processed foods. Like, people, yes, understand that, okay, I should eat less soda and processed foods. But when you actually are like, yeah, but meat is good for you. Eat more meat, eat more meat, eat more meat. From what I have seen, for most people, it seems like they hear that as a justification to keep eating the way they were already eating, not to actually go out and spend buku dollars on expensive grass-fed meat and ethically raised, meat and eggs and milk. Most people don't even have access to that. So I understand the people who do eat that way and recommend eating that way, that it is a lot healthier than the standard American diet. Yes, I absolutely get that. I particularly don't want to eat that way because I have an ethical consideration here. I don't think it's necessary to raise animals for food, to kill them, to eat them, to be healthy. I think I'm a good example that is not necessary. But, I understand why people do feel that way. But at the same time, just like the veganism can be confusing with like all this processed vegan food, it can also be really confusing to people to hear that eating red meat is good, because they don't hear the part about eating red meat is good if the red meat is from your small local grass-fed farmer who is not spraying the farm with pesticides and not feeding the cattle Roundup laden grains. Like, I don't think most people hear that. So just generally, this conversation around health and wellness and what to eat does get very confusing. But to make it less confusing, and in conclusion, I just want to remind you that the way forward, the way to thrive, the way to know that you're getting what you need, the way to eat delicious food, the way to save money, because vegan eating is a lot less expensive when you are not buying processed food, okay? The way to do this is to just focus on an 80-20 or 90-10 healthy plant-based diet. And to break it down for you one more time, that means you are mostly eating vegetables and fruits and whole grains and beans, lentils, peas, nuts, and seeds. That's it. And the recipes on my website and here on my YouTube channel are that. I don't use a lot of processed, highly processed foods. I think I might have like 3 actually recipes with ultra processed foods on the blog. But that's fine, eat those things in moderation. The majority of the foods on my blog are the healthy, wholesome, plant-based foods. And, they're fun to make. And like I said, they're a lot less expensive than buying this processed stuff. And also likewise on YouTube. I've got meal plans that I send for free every week in my newsletter. I don't know how long we're going to keep sending them for free. I think we're going to revamp it and start to sell them. But for now, they're free. There are also some meal plans on the blog. I even have a meal planning and meal prepping playlist here on YouTube. I will link all that down below, so you can give it a try. So if you want to be vegan, or if you're already vegan and you just want to clean up your diet, you want to eat healthier, you want to make sure that you are, supporting your long-term health, because a lot of these things can be better for you in the short term, but I'm always thinking long term. I want to be 95 years old and out here still playing tennis and doing yoga. You know what I mean? And the only way I know I'm going to get there, God willing, is to eat a wholesome plant-based diet. And I want that for you too, y'all. So that's all I had to say today, you guys. I didn't even look at my notes. I guess so if I looked at my notes, we would be here for like 5-6 hours, and we don't have that much time. So let me know what you think. Let me know what has been your approach, what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you as you have embarked on a vegan diet, or even if you're not vegan, just eating more plants or whatever it might be. Let's just get the conversation started. I think this is an important conversation to have. I think it's important to clear up confusion around eating. And I should have said this at the beginning. The most important thing, and it's, rhymes are good because you hear a rhyme, you remember it. Hear this. If Mother Nature didn't make it, don't take it. Okay? Just remember that. When you go grocery shopping, did Mother Nature make this? Because if it's a no, I ain't gonna take it. And if I'm gonna take it, I'm only gonna take it once. It's no more than 20% of the time, not every day. You know what I mean? If Mother Nature didn't make it, don't take it. All right? Thanks for watching, guys. I will be back next week with another video where I probably run my mouth. Maybe not. I have some cooking videos and some like vlog stuff coming up too. But anyway, we'll see. I'll see you next week, and let me know what you want to see on my channel if you have any requests. All right? Check out the links below. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate all of you. I will see you next time. Bye.